Hi, I'm Cheryl Dennis Wright. I'm a legal officer in the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and I have particular responsibility for areas related to the FCTC and Jamaica's implementation of its obligations under the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. I am also the focal point for the FCTC. Jamaica has long recognized that Article 5.3 of the treaty is the backbone of the convention, is a cornerstone for good governance, and should be made a part of national legislation. So by way of background, the tobacco control regulations were put in place in 2013 in Jamaica. These regulations was an implementation of just a few articles of the convention, and these regulations were a part of the Public Health Act. As a result of the fact that it was a part of the Public Health Act, we could only treat with measures related to public health. We recognized, however, that in order to be compliant with the treaty and to uphold our obligations, we needed to put in place strong tobacco control laws, which would mean a comprehensive tobacco control legislation. The journey has been long, and as I would have outlined earlier, we saw Article 5.3 as really critical in terms of the inclusion. Now, somewhere after 2013, we had a visit from the former head of the Convention Secretariat, Dr. Haik Nikogosian, who visited Jamaica, and he would have had discussions with high-level officials, including of a former Prime Minister. In those discussions, he highlighted the need to fully and effectively implement all our obligations under the convention, and he also highlighted the need for us to put in place provisions that treated with Jamaica's interaction with the tobacco industry. That was a critical moment, and thereafter, the Convention Secretariat undertook a needs assessment in Jamaica in 2014. Now, this needs assessment was not only undertaken by the Convention Secretariat, but this was in collaboration with PAHO, the WHO, as well as the UN Country Office, and there would have been consultations with civil society. The needs assessment highlighted that there were several instances of interaction with the tobacco industry that were in contravention of the treaty and that were also in contravention of the guidelines for the implementation of the treaty. These interactions included youth smoking prevention programs, which reportedly gave an impression of a partnership between the tobacco industry and the Ministry of Education. It also highlighted some sponsorships deemed partnerships in the form of donations by the tobacco industry to the Ministry of National Security. The needs assessment would have also highlighted that there were donations in terms of communities and constituencies. It also highlighted instances in which the tobacco industry sought to partner with the Ministry of Agriculture with respect to farming of tobacco products, and also instances where there were scholarships that were given to the universities and to students in respect of furthering of education. Now, it was recognized that there were instances in which the industry sought to tap into areas where there was deemed to be lack. So at the end of the needs assessment activity, these findings were discussed with the ministry, and when the needs assessment team had left Jamaica, they encouraged the government through their sponsorship to undertake post-needs assessment activities. These activities included high-level meetings, which was conducted with several ministries, departments, and agencies to discuss the findings and also to discuss Article 5.3 and the gaps specific to that area. In around June 2015, the Ministry of Health initiated meetings with individual ministries, departments, and agencies. And let me speak specifically of two key ministries that participated. Now, the Ministry of Justice, we had several stakeholder meetings in relation to Article 5.3, and this was largely supported by civil society, namely the Jamaica Coalition for Tobacco Control. There were also several meetings with the Jamaica Customs Agency, and they would have highlighted to the ministry several attempts by the industry to partner with that agency in terms of identifying illicit products. Now, it was critical for us to meet with them, not only to help them to understand Article 5.3 and the irreconcilable conflict between the interests of the industry and the interests of government or public health. These were largely embraced, and it would have set the wheels in motion to putting in place comprehensive legislation. Between 2015 and 2016, we undertook wide stakeholder consultations in relation to a draft tobacco control bill, where several ministries, departments, and agencies met weekly at the table to discuss the provisions of this bill and specifically their concerns in relation to the provisions treating with the interaction with the industry. There was also a high-level interministerial meeting that was organized by PAHO and the WHO with several ministers and with several high-level officials, and this spoke specifically to Article 5.3. Jamaica also took advantage of several opportunities. These are capacity building opportunities in relation to Article 5.3 regionally and internationally, and this would have strengthened our resolve and also our technical expertise in relation to putting in place provisions treating with Article 5.3, where we now have in place a bill which treats effectively with our obligations under the treaty, including Article 5.3. And we are happy to say that the provisions of this bill adequately treats with the provisions dealing with the interaction of government or public officials with the tobacco industry. The bill was tabled in December, and now there will be discussions in Parliament with a view to finalizing that bill before it is passed into law. Overall, one of the tremendous lessons that we have learned is that Article 5.3 is not only the backbone of the treaty, but that all sectors of government have a part to play in its implementation and also in ensuring that it is effectively operationalized.